Hello everybody, this is my little sister Hannah, and she is interviewing me for a school project. So, what do you want to ask me?
Okay. What are the things that he is going for that everybody would be interested in? Like, the things he's rooting for as president.
Like, some issues that people might like?
Yeah.
Well, he wants to balance the federal budget right now, which means that instead of our government spending more money than it takes in, he would, because we're actually spending about 43% more than what we make, so he would want to reduce the government size by 43%. He would want to end the wars, like the war in Afghanistan. He doesn't want to bomb Iran. He wants to bring the troops home, and he wants to have peace. He wants to get rid of the IRS and get rid of the income tax. You can tell me if I'm going too fast. Okay. So he wants to get rid of the income tax and replace it with what's called the fair tax. He wants to get rid of the Patriot Act, which a lot of people believe is an invasion of our privacy, because the government can check our emails, things like that, without us even knowing about it. Law enforcement officers don't need warrants to do these things as long as you're a suspected terrorist. And he doesn't want us to have the National Defense Authorization Act, which was a law that Obama passed, which basically says that the military can arrest you and you don't have the right to a lawyer, you don't have the right to a phone call. They can basically hold you indefinitely in a prison as long as they suspect you of being a terrorist. One of the ones that he's most famous for is he wants to end the war on drugs. And that's kind of a controversial one, because some people like that and some people don't. But when we have over 850,000 people being arrested every year just for marijuana, and when we have a system where people are going to jail for just doing what they want with their own bodies, and we've learned from history that prohibition doesn't work because we tried to make alcohol illegal and that didn't work. So he would end the war on drugs based on those facts. Oh, and he wants to legalize gay marriage, and he believes it's their right, people's right, to do what they want, I guess, and that's why he supports that. So those are just a few. There's probably a lot more, but those are some good ones.
Alright. And then you said there's 3 things you have to do before you can become a president and stuff, and he's missing one. What are those 3 things?
Do you mean to become president, or do you mean to get into presidential debates?
I think presidential.
Yeah, the nationalized debates, like the ones that you see on TV where, like, I don't know if you ever watched one before, but, like, basically the candidates who are running for president are on national TV, millions of people are watching it, and they have 3 requirements for you to be accepted into those debates where you can actually talk about the issues and with those candidates. Okay, and that's, the 3 requirements are that you have to be constitutionally eligible to be president, which is just the basic stuff. You have to be 35 years old, you have to be born in the United States. I think there's probably some other things, like you can't have a criminal record and stuff like that, but basically, according to the Constitution, you have to be allowed to be president. The second one is, what was that? You have to be on the ballot in enough states that you can actually win the election. So, like, he's actually on the ballot in 40 states. That means when you go to vote, like, you see the choices, he has to be one of the choices that's on there.
For, like, every place?
For every state. Like Pennsylvania, they don't know if he's going to be on the ballot yet, but they're trying to fight to get him on. But he is on the ballot in at least 40 states right now. He's hoping that he'll be on the ballot in all 50. So that's the second requirement. And the third one is, in the polls, the Presidential Debate Commission, they said that they're going to pick 5 major polls. So, like, there's Gallup, Rasmussen, and other organizations like that. And do you kind of know what a poll is?
No.
It's like on the news when they say, like, they ask the person, who are you going to vote for? And they say, like, 48% want to vote for Barack Obama, 48% want to vote for Mitt Romney, and such percent are undecided. So Gary Johnson has to be on at least 5 of those polls, from what I'm hearing, and he has to get 15%.
Oh, like, just ignore that. That was my school stuff. Alright.
Just extra notes.
Yeah, and then why do you personally want to vote for Gary Johnson?
Okay, that's a good question. I want to vote for Gary Johnson because, to me, it's 3 major issues that are at stake in this presidential election. The first one is civil liberties, which means that I believe that we're losing a lot of our freedoms. We have stuff like the Patriot Act, we have stuff like the National Defense Authorization Act, we have the president assassinating U.S. citizens without even giving them a trial. We have, you know, it's just all kinds of issues. We're losing more and more of our freedom. They're even developing drones now where they can spy on us. And I think it really, like, they're almost like planes, but they're like remote control. And they use them in foreign countries to, like, bomb people. But they're going to start using them basically to spy on us, and we're hoping that stuff like that doesn't happen. But, you know, it's just we're at a really scary place in American politics right now, where we're losing a lot of our freedoms that we fought for and died for, and I think it's extremely important to protect those. The other issue is the economy. I don't believe that Mitt Romney and Barack Obama really understand what we need to do to fix the economy. They seem to believe that if we just throw money at the problem, or if we raise taxes on these people and lower taxes on those people, or if we send money to these big corporations and those corporations, then we're going to get out of this problem. But it's not working. And a lot of times in the economy, the reason we have a free market, or a capitalist economy in the United States, is because we believe that the government shouldn't be involved in regulating things like how people should run their businesses, and where people should work, and how much people should get paid, and how much taxes people should pay. You know, it just gets to be too much. There's too many rules, too many regulations. The money isn't worth anything anymore, and it's becoming worth less and less, because they have what's called the Federal Reserve, and because the government is spending so much money, we're either borrowing it, so we're getting deeper in debt. I know you probably need more papers of it.
Please.
But, and actually, if you forget anything that I say, you can always listen to the video,
Yeah, I was
too.
gonna say, I can always go back to this.
So you can check that. But, and if I confuse you, you can tell me, and I'll try to answer your questions more simply. Because I'm kind of a geek.
Very much so.
Yeah. And, okay, where was I? Okay. And when we're borrowing the money, and we get so deep in debt, and then on the other hand, sometimes they just print the money to pay for it. And when you print the money, slowly but surely, what happens is inflation. I don't know if you learned about this in school yet.
Yeah, we did.
but basically the money becomes less and less, and that's why everything is more expensive. Like, if you go back...
You have to have, like, something, like, to back it up. Like, it has...
A lot of people think that they need something to back it up, and we don't have that anymore. We used to have what's called the gold standard, where you back it up with gold, yep. And we don't do that anymore. We just kind of print it, and we hope that it's worth something. And I don't think that's working, and it's going to be very dangerous if we if we approach the place where our money isn't worth anything anymore. And I believe that's what we're coming to. And the government is really the biggest part of the problem. The government needs to stop the spending, stop the taxing people to death, stop the regulations, stop just all this craziness is getting out of control. And the third issue for me, and I think this is a big one for me personally, is that I think we need to stop the wars. You know, we went to war in Iraq because we said that there were nuclear weapons there. There weren't any nuclear weapons, so we were basically lied to. Then we were told we went there because there were terrorists there, but we didn't really find any terrorists there, and now the terrorists are actually stronger there. And the other reason we said was to set people free, but if you look at what happened, we're setting a bad example for the rest of the world. They look at America and they think that freedom, you know, the freedom that we bring them is about forcing our values on them. It's about, you know, dropping bombs on them. And, you know, when we drop bombs on cities and children are dying and women are dying and people are dying, you know, like, how would we like it if people did that to us? How would we like it if they said, well, we don't like the way that your government is run, America, so we're going to send troops on your soil? How would they like it if we were surrounded by bases? I mean, we have military bases all over the place. You know, and the more wars that we fight, the more the people hate us. And because we're basically acting like bullies. And that doesn't make people like us. And that's why we have the problems with terrorism are growing, and it's just going crazy. And I think that those three issues are really what define it. We want peace, we want prosperity, and we want freedom. That's basically the platform here. We're losing our freedom. Our prosperity, you know, our economy is going down the drain. Our money isn't worth anything anymore. And we're constantly going to war. Our young people are dying in wars. And the president isn't even getting Congress to declare war anymore. He's just kind of doing it by himself, like he's the king. And we're making people hate us, and the wars were actually a huge part of our spending. And a lot of innocent people are dying as well. And I just think that needs to stop. So those are the three issues.
Alright, last question. For the economy thing.
The what?
Him fixing our economy.
Yeah.
In detail, but not too much geekish detail that I can't understand.
Yeah.
Can you explain to me exactly what he is doing or plans to do?
Gary Johnson?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, and I'll try to make this simple so I don't confuse anyone. He wants to get rid of the IRS and basically get rid of all taxes, and he will replace that with what's called the fair tax. And to make it as easy as possible to understand, instead of being taxed on how much money you make, it's basically like a sales tax. You're going to be taxed on how much you spend.
That sounds smart.
Yeah. And I think it's pretty smart because people who save money won't have to pay as much.
Yeah.
And people who buy a lot of fancy things, they will pay more. So really, rich people are still paying more, but it's still equal and it's still fair. And everybody is paying taxes no matter what. So, like, people are worried about illegal immigrants not paying taxes. With the fair tax, they pay taxes for everything they buy, so they're paying taxes too. So, and that's why it's called the fair tax, because everybody is equal in the taxes. What else? What was the question? What's he going to do with the economy?
Yeah, how are you going to fix
Okay. The other thing he wants to do is get rid of the Federal Reserve, which hopefully you'll learn about in school, or maybe not. But the Federal Reserve does a lot of things, you know, like I said. They print too much money. They control the interest rates. They control a lot of the regulations. You know, as far as money is concerned, and the actions that they have taken have made the money less valuable, so he would want to get rid of that. But at the same time, he would also understand that we can't just stop at getting rid of the Federal Reserve, because when the Department of Treasury takes over, we have to stop printing so much crazy money. Okay. So, he also wants to cut spending by 43%. And it goes back to the same thing. We're printing money, and we're borrowing money, and we're getting deeper in debt. And everybody thinks, well, that doesn't affect me, but it does affect you because you pay taxes. And so if our government is deep in debt, you're paying for that debt. So that is a very important issue. And the other thing is, he would just take the government out of trying to control everything in the economy. Like, if you might remember, there was something called TARP bailouts. That was basically where the housing industry was going to, like, collapse. And Barack Obama basically signed a bill that said he was going to give, it was about, I think, $900 billion to help these big banks, like, not go out of business. And I think that was too much money, and you know, we need to not pick winners and losers. We need to have competition. And people who aren't very smart with their money and aren't very smart with their business, they need to go out of business, and good businesses need to do better. And the more the government controls everything, the less that they can do that, because they can't make their own decisions. And as far as I know, I think that's about it.
I lied. One more question.
Okay.
With regulation and printing money, does he have like a backup for the money that we're printing?
He wants to, he has said that he wants to go back to the gold standard.
Alright, that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
I hope it wasn't too confusing, because I kind of confused myself, actually.
Whew. Why is this maybe so long?
So Hannah's writing an essay on, I guess, what is it? Who you support and why?
Yes.
Basically. So she's writing hers on Gary Johnson. Good girl.
Yes.
She's also going to do a debate. When is that?
I don't know.
Sometime after the essay, I guess.
Yep.
I would totally school her friends in a debate.
Friends? I don't know anybody in my street.
Okay. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you found this interesting. This is the future of our movement right here. The young people.
Future.